Good morning and welcome to another Retro Brown Solo Run challenge. Today we are doing the ball Pokemon Voltorb, pre-evolution to Electrode. You know, Electrode actually didn't do too badly, but I feel that was just down to the fact that it started with Sonic Boom. That's something we don't get here as a Voltorb. With Voltorb, you only get Sonic Boom at level 17, which means unless we can beat Brock before level 17, we are going to have to wait until we get Sonic Boom to beat him. Which is a bit of an issue anyway, because you know what? Brock's kind of annoying when you've only got normal and you've only got defensive moves. When I say defensive moves, I mean like Screech lowers their defense, so more statusing decrease really. Either way, let's have a quick look at our base stats. But before that, our rival's name today is Komori. Thank you for subscribing and welcome to the channel. Our base stat total is 330, which is quite typical of a first stage evolution, especially in Gen 1 as well. Our highest stat is our speed stat at 100, which is really good, which means we're pretty much not going to get outspeed by anything at all on this run. Our special is a very mediocre 55, and everything else is 40, 13, 50, which aren't great whatsoever, which pretty much means Voltorb is meant to just be, right, you attack first, you get a little chip damage in, or you explode, and that's it. That's pretty much the point of a Voltorb Electrode. But it has some uses in later generations where it's got the likes of, well, Thunderbolt, Thunder. I mean, it does have it in this generation, but at the same time, majoritively, it is going to be an explosion. Let's have a quick look at the very first rival fight, where we're going to choose Bulbasaur as the Pokemon against us, because that means we do not have a super effective move that can damage it. We pick up the potion on the way to Pewter City, well, Viridian Forest, and we're going to go against the Bug Catchers, which, considering you thought we'd have Screech, which decreases defense by 2 stages, we don't actually do too well. We set up Screech and then we start attacking with Tackle, but we've lost a lot of HP because we got poisoned very early on, and we just can't do enough to take out these, and we actually lose against the Bug Catchers in Viridian Forest, which has not happened for a while. But if you don't get poisoned, genuinely this fight is not a problem whatsoever. So when we can get our Screeches up, we do not get poisoned. Tackle's more than enough to take him out. Now, one thing you got to pay in mind with having that very high 100 base stat, especially in speed, it means that we're actually going to get a lot of critical hits, because in Gen 1 your critical hit chance is based off your base speed. So the higher your base speed, the more critical hit chances you're going to get. Now that's not great if you are trying to decrease their stats so you can get a bigger hit in. As you can see with the Diglett, setting up the Screeches doesn't really work, so we are going to backtrack all the way. We are going to level up on the way as well, because we want to go against the rival to the west of Viridian. From here we can get some decent experience, and annoyingly the Pidgey is still going to get a few sand attacks in. We managed to get a Screech in before taking out with Tackle and getting very lucky with the hits, and we get a Screech in again against the Bulbasaur. We get 3 Screeches in, meaning its defenses are -6 right now, meaning 2 Tackles can take it out. Even with our pitiful 30 base attack, we still managed to take it out in 2 hits. So yeah, let's try this again at level 11. The Diglett, we are going to hit 1 Screech on it, and we are doing a lot more damage now. Next up is the Sandshrew, but unfortunately its defenses are just too high and we can't set up Screeches in enough time to take it down. So we're going to have to go back and level up a little bit more. So level 13 going into this fight. Pretty much the reason why I do this fight instead of going straight into Brock with some Pokemon is because it's a good measure of how well you're actually going to do against Brock. If you can take out both of these Pokemon, I'd say your chances of actually getting through Brock are much higher than if you can't beat the Light-Years trainer. There have been some exceptions on my runs where I haven't had to beat it, even though it probably would have been a good point to get some experience. But yeah, either way, let's give Brock a try. And the first thing we're going to do, because Screech can outpace Defense Curl, we are going to try and set up as many Screeches as we can to get that defense as low as possible. Now, as I was saying earlier about the critical hit chances, we got 2 in a row there, meaning that within those 2 turns he managed to set up some defense curls and reduce the amount that Tackle would actually do. And yeah, we just keep getting outpaced by this Geodude. We can't get his defense low down enough, and we need to try again. So we need to level up. How much do we need to level up? Well, you'll find out after this attempt, because here I just gave it another try. We got all of the Screeches set up and he didn't managed to get a few defense curls set up, and that's how much tackle he's doing. Now his defense is at -6, and he is doing a hell of a lot of damage to us with us only having 12 HP going into the Onyx. Best case scenario, all he does is use Bide whenever we need to Screech him, but he doesn't have any defense increasing moves, so Screech is there to make sure that whenever he goes into Bide, we can time it out. The worst thing is, though, he also has Screech and he also has Tackle. Now, if he didn't have Tackle, then we would have an easy ride through this fight. And we get very, very close here. We get just over a third of his HP down, but it's just not enough. We need a bit more bulk behind us, so we are going to go into level 16 just before getting Sonic Boom to see if this is still possible without it. So, we get down to around about half HP just before the Geodude goes down. It's a lot better position than last time. He immediately goes for Bide, and we've set up all of the Screeches we need. Now he's out of Bide. We are not doing very much with Tackle still, even though he's at -6. This is just how bulky Onyx is in an early game of Pokemon. With 160 base defense, I think it is, or something around that nature. It might be 140. I might be confusing that with Cloyster, who's got 160. Yeah, Onyx is a very scary Pokemon for when you only have normal type moves. But at level 16, we managed to get around all the Bides and we get the win. So we didn't even need Sonic Boom to get past Brock. But because of all the leveling up we've had to do, we did lose a considerable amount of time here. This brings us on to Mount Moon. And we have also picked up Sonic Boom by leveling up to level 17. We are now level 18 going into this fight. And this just makes every fight in the early game so much easier. Sonic Boom doesn't have the greatest accuracy at 90%, and if you don't have 100% accuracy in Gen 1, yeah, you pretty much have maybe half of that, because even if you have 95% accuracy on a move, it seems to hit less than most of the time. This is just Pokemon, this is how it is. Let's go into Misty. So, Misty is still dangerous even though we're an electric type. Bubble Beam is very powerful, and water actually doesn't resist electric type move. Well, electric type Pokemon, they can still hit for neutral damage. Or at least this is what we are seeing in the footage here. This might just be Gen 1 and it's changed in future generations. But yeah, in Gen 1, water type moves do not resist electric type Pokemon. But with the power of Sonic Boom, we managed to get a second time win, moving on to fighting Komori in the second rival fight in Nugget Bridge. So, again, because this is the part of the game where Sonic Boom is at its best potency, Sonic Boom will just pretty much tear through his entire team. We managed to get all the way to the Bulbasaur, and the worst thing that can happen is we get hit by Vine Whip, which actually doesn't do too much, but we are level 21, and we take a first time win. We are going to pick up Thunder Wave just past Nugget Bridge as well, because if we can paralyze them, that actually really helps us out. It means we can get rid of self-destruct, because one of the things about a solo run, if you lose all your HP, you need to reset that fight. And yeah, Explosion, self-destruct, it's a one-hit KO on yourself, so why would you use it? We can't teach Body Slam, which to be fair, actually would make sense considering it's a ball. Tackling is essentially slamming yourself into them, so why can't you Body Slam it as a ball? So I'm confused why we can't learn Body Slam, but either way, if someone in the comments knows why certain Pokemon can't learn Body Slam even though they can learn moves like Tackle or Double Edge, yeah, let me know in the comments, because I genuinely don't know why. But this is the logic of Pokemon sometimes. The next rival fight on the SSN, it's difficult because his team have got up in levels a little bit. He's now got a Raticate which can use Hyper Fang, and we do lose this attempt. So it'll be better if I go into this with as many power points in Sonic Boom as I can. I can set up the Thunder Wave as soon as possible, and as long as we don't get sand attacked, it's a very easy fight. Thunder Wave is a great move, but it might not be a move that we keep for the entire run. Pretty much when we get past Surge, I nearly forgot his name there, because he is so unmemorable sometimes, we will get the move Thunderbolt, which we can learn via TM. Now, if you're looking up on the right there, you can see our learn up move set. We actually don't learn any electric type moves via level up. We have to rely on our TM moves to be able to obtain any electric type moves. We actually learn more psychic type moves than we do electric type moves as an electric type Pokemon, and even then, Light Screen, it's decent. We might use it later on, but it's not the greatest of moves. This Pokemon is literally set up to be enter the fight, blow up, and go. That is pretty much the point of a Voltorb or Electrode. We are still struggling against the rival on the SSN. Pretty much every time we were getting very low to the Ivysaur. And as you can see there, even at level 28, we've gone in against a lot of trainers on the SSN. It took us to level 28 to be able to beat the rival on the SSN. Not a great precedent for how this fight's really going to go. So, we are now against Surge. It's Voltorb against Voltorb, and our Voltorb wins. Balls is just going to the wall here and tearing through the electric type gym leader. Oh, I never thought I'd get that sentence out on a video. YouTube will probably flag me for that, but either way. Let's learn Light Screen. Let's move on to the next gym. So I am going to get rid of Tackle here for Light Screen because we do have a decent special, and to be fair, I would rather keep Tackle right now because Sonic Boom is not the greatest move. We are going to get Thunderbolt as well, which means we can get rid of Tackle for that move, really. So, we've now got to get rid of Tackle. We've got Sonic Boom, we've got Screech, we've got Light Screen. We've got a decent moveset right now to take on the special type Pokemon that are starting to income into the game in the mid-game. When we come up against the Exploding Hiker, pretty much I was thinking, right, that first Geodude's exploded, we're on low HP, how are we going to win this? Sonic Boom comes to the rescue, it really does. And it's very thankful that none of his other Pokemon decided to explode today. We get a first time victory, and we can move on to Lavender Tower. And we are going to go straight for the rival in Lavender Tower as well, because Komori gave us a tough time on the SSN. I believe he's still going to give us a tough time. But not as much now he has a Gyarados and a Pidgeotto, meaning Thunderbolt sweeps through two of his Pokemon. Wow, he is going on a massive sweep here. 4 of his Pokemon all went down to 1 Thunderbolt each, and then Sonic Boom takes out the Ivysaur. That's the easiest rival fight we've had so far. And sorry, these styles are just so fun. Anyway, let's fight against Giovanni and Celadon. It's the harder matchup between him and Erica, I would say, in this circumstance. And we are just going to go for the Sonic Booms. It does 20 set damage every single time, meaning his Rock-type Pokemon can't resist the move. But it does mean a lot of hits need to be taken before we can take him out. Thunderbolt is a great move when it comes to the Kangaskhan, because it is the only Pokemon on his team here that can be hit by it. And we also get the chance to learn Swift. Now, ideally, Swift actually will be a good move to have. But right now, Sonic Boom still has a use. It might still even have a use going into the Elite Four. Anyway, let's go against Erica. And yeah, we're not going to do well against Erica. We don't deal out enough damage. So we're going to come back later. We're actually going to fly off and we're going to go to Lavender Tower again. Pretty much, well, we're going to go over to Saffron first and Knuckle Knock that for later. But we are going to go back and complete the Lavender side quest. That means we can open up Fuchsia. We can open up Cinnabar if we really wanted to go there. But ideally, I prefer to get the Lapras so we can surf down to Cinnabar at our leisure. But it also means we need to complete Saffron in that same vein. So, the rockets in Lavender Tower are not a problem whatsoever. We just sweep through them with Thunderbolt, and this is why I wanted Thunderbolt as quick as possible. We might learn Thunder later on, but because it's only got 70% accuracy, yeah, I'm not too keen on getting it right now. We need that consistency with Thunderbolt. We're going to wake up the Snorlax, run away from it, and then run past the guy, guard in the bike road, and pick ourselves up a free bike. That moves us on to Fuchsia City, where we can go against the Poison-type gym leader, which is Koga. We're going to set up Light Screen, which, to be fair, I only realised afterwards, makes no difference whatsoever. It was a wasted turn. We need to just sweep through his team as quick as possible with Thunderbolt and get to that final Pokemon. So Weezing is up last, and as long as it doesn't use Explosion or Self-Destruct, yeah, that's pretty much going to happen. Our base 50 defense cannot stand up to a Self-Destruct, and I am not happy taking a win, even though I've got Pokemon in the back. Voltorb needs to do this on his own. So, second time round, we don't even go for the Light Screen this time round. We're just going to go straight for Thunderbolts, but we have annoyingly been poisoned. 2 Thunderbolts can pretty much take out his 2 Coffins, but it's going to be 2 to 3 on the Weezing in the muck. We get down to, wow, very low HP, and we run out of Thunderbolts, meaning Sonic Boom has to take the win here. So we take a win against Koga. That brings us on to the next gym leader. But before that, we need to go and pick up Surf in the Safari Zone. And here's a little trick if you want to save a bit of time. When you walk outside the house, you can then use dig to get yourself back to the nearest town. Saves yourself a little bit of time instead of using an escape rope. So let's go against Komori in Saffron Tower? Silphcore. Why did I forget that? Either way, we're not going to teach ourselves Explosion. We're going to sweep through as many Pokemon as possible, getting ourselves all the way to the Alakazam, who decides only this time to use Disable. Now, this is where the fight goes downhill. We get Leech Seeded, we get Razor Leafed. And it wasn't even close on that final one, so we had to level up a bit more with the trainers in Silphcore. The first 3 Pokemon are not a problem whatsoever, even the Growlithe goes down to 1 Thunderbolt. The Alakazam is when it starts to become a problem, but this is why we've kept Light Screen. Even though he gets critical hits, which is very annoying, and then starts portioning up, yeah, now we need to try and take down this Venusaur as quick as possible. We paralyse it very early on, and 5 Thunderbolts gets us the win at level 47. That is much higher than I wanted to be, but remember, we are not allowed to use self-destruct moves on this run. We have to use the moves that are available that do not KO ourselves, because otherwise we have to restart that fight. Giovanni is next, and you know what? Much harder than the rival. And it all comes down to this Rhyhorn. The only way we can do real good damage to this Rhyhorn is to use Sonic Boom, and in the meantime he is stomping his way over our balls. Yeah, I definitely can't say that on YouTube. Anyway, it comes to the Nidoqueen, who is also a ground-type Pokemon, and yeah, eventually Poison Sting takes out our Voltorb. Let's try this again. We are now level 53. This took me a lot of tries, I'll be completely honest with you guys. It took me a lot of tries to be able to take down this Rhyhorn, but I found a different strategy that we should have picked up earlier. Honestly, Sonic Boom by this point in the game has completely lost its potency. Swift is another move which always hits, so it doesn't matter whether we get accuracy drops, it will always hit. Couple that with Screech, and you reduce their defense by 6 points, meaning we can get through Rock-type Pokemon a lot more easily. Let's move on to Sabrina. Pretty much what we want to do is set up a light screen, we want to set up the Screeches and the Thunderbolts, and as long as that Alakazam doesn't hit us, we win. It goes for Reflect, it goes for Psywave, and misses. That's a very lucky first time win against Sabrina. Sabrina has honestly been one of the easiest gym leaders in the last however many videos. But we need to go back and backtrack before we get all the way to Giovanni's gym and forget that we've missed a gym leader. We need to go back and we need to beat Erica. Now, Swift is just paying its dividends here. Because it always hits, it pretty much means every single time we're doing very good damage, and we also get them critical hits because of our high base speed. We beat Erica without much problem whatsoever, but we are nearly half her Pokemon's levels. Twice her Pokemon's levels. This means we can then swim down to Cinnabar and give our chance against Blaine. So, we're going to set up our light screens to reflect the fire damage incoming, meaning they'll probably go for more physical type attacks here, which is evident when the Rapidash uses Stomp. Thunderbolt will take out the Arcanine in a few hits, and we get quite an easy win at level 55. We are still very high leveled for what I prefer to be at this point in the game. I prefer to be just under level 50 with most runs, but we have beaten all the gym leaders apart from Giovanni, and this is going to be the toughest one. But knowing our strategy from Silphcore, we set up our Screeches, we Swift our way through, and when the Dug Trio comes out, we're going to mimic Dig, because we know this strategy works from previous runs. Mimicking Dig on that Dug Trio is hands down probably the most foolproof way for most of these Pokemon to get through. Genuinely, I think if you're doing a solo run with any Pokemon like this, do it. Just teach yourself Mimic, get yourself Dig, and Giovanni will become a very easy fight. That brings us to all 8 gym leaders defeated, and the final challenge is underway. Let's head over to the Elite Four, but before that we have a fight with Komori again. He starts off with his Pidgeot, which of course goes down to Thunderbolt. Rhyhorn is next, and we're going to go for the Screech Swift strategy. This is a great strategy, and I've not used it on any other run so far as I'm aware, so you know what? Happy to try out a new strategy when it comes up. So, annoyingly the Rhyhorn does take off a lot of HP, and we don't have a recovery move here. We could teach ourselves Rest, but instead what we're going to do is teach ourselves Recover from the Alakazam. He goes for Reflect because he knows we're going to start using Swift, and Psybeam does tons of damage, so this is just going to be a war of attrition here. We need to keep recovering our HP, and we need to start hitting him as and when we can, but unfortunately I misjudged that, and Psybeam takes that with a critical. Alakazam has got very high speed, meaning that it's going to get a lot of critical hits in Gen 1. Let's try this again. So we do better luck against the Rhyhorn here. Still 3 Swifts to take it down, and that brings us to Gyarados. 1 Thunderbolt is more than enough to take it out, and for once Gyarados has not been a problem on one of my runs. We still want to teach ourselves Recover because it's still a great move to be using. We want to use 2 Screeches to try and get its defense down enough for Recover to take it out in 1 hit. Even with a critical hit, though, yeah, we're doing just about half damage. He misses his Reflect, meaning we've got an opening to go against the Venusaur. We're going to try the Swift Screech strategies here, because his moves really aren't taking us down more than halfway. Razor Leaf, when it does get a crit, will do that, but wow, yeah, this is coming right down to the wire. 4 HP, please miss. He goes for Vine Whip. We've got more hit. He goes for Growth. Okay, we've got an opening here. As long as we can keep recovering. We've got 1 Recover left, and we've just got to go for it now. 2 Swifts takes down the Venusaur, and that was a close fight. If we hadn't have got Recover on our moveset, we would not have been able to do this. Let's bring it on to the Elite Four now. Lorelei is up first, and she has got quite a lot of Water-type Pokemon, meaning our Thunderbolt can tear through the majority of her teams quite easily. But the next one that comes up is the Jinx, and this is where we start having problems. It's got decent special, it's got decent everything really, and we're down at 18 HP and paralysed when it comes into Lapras, meaning we ain't got a chance. Let's try this again. And you'll see in this fight another typical trope of this of this channel, especially with all of my runs when I get to Lorelei. You will see what happens as soon as we get to the Jinx. So we go in for a Thunderbolt and we get frozen. This seems to happen at least once a video when we get to Lorelei. Let's try that again. I think if we can get past her without being frozen and without getting paralysed, we will win this very, very easily. We just need a Thunderbolt our way through, just literally go on the full offensive, and Thrash does not take off too much damage. Thunderbolt is a one-shot on the Lapras, and level 60, Balls takes the win, and we can move on to Bruno. Now this time I am actually kind of scared for Bruno. Because we've only got Thunderbolt, because we've only got Swift, we really don't have the best moveset to be able to deal with his rock types. We do take quite a lot of damage off him when we use Screech and Swift, but even then it's not a great amount of damage, and he is locked himself into Rage, which means he's going to do more and more damage each turn. But when we get to the Hitmonchan, we can Mimic Ice Punch, and that means we've now got to move to take out those Onyxes later in the fight, and Thunderbolt can sweep through the rest of his team. It's a good strategy to use, and I've used this on a few runs now. Mimic the Ice Punch and the majority of his team become quite easily. We take Bruno on a first time win and move on to Agatha. Let's see how we do here. Now, I want to let you know, it's probably best to get Hypnosis in this fight, just to make sure they don't do anything to you as you just trickle them down with Thunderbolts. Thunderbolt is super effective against the Golbat, and we need to make sure we get his Haunter or his Arbok asleep. We have running out of Hypnosis power points, but Thunderbolt is actually doing really, really good for us here. It's not doing very good against especially strong Haunters and Gengars. Now, we've done pretty well to get to this stage, and then we get poisoned, meaning we actually can't get put to sleep, which also isn't the greatest thing because we are now confused, and we didn't hit one Hypnosis. Hypnosis has a very bad accuracy rate, which means it comes down to complete luck, but it is still a great move to have, still a great move to Mimic, because it means if you can learn that you can hit those sleeps, it becomes a very easy fight. We do get very lucky on this attempt, and 3 Thunderbolts takes down the Haunter. We're going to go for Hypnosis. Oh, we get hit by an Acid, which isn't the worst thing, but 2 Thunderbolts will take down the Arbok. Now, another thing that happens in Gen 1 as well, you have to wait a turn before you can attack, whereas in later gens, when you wake up from sleep, you can attack straight away. I prefer the Gen 1 mechanic, if I'm being honest. Just because it makes it easier for me, but either way, a lot of people prefer that in later gens. It's not for me. Let's have a talk about Lance, and his Gyarados goes down in 1. We're gonna use the badge boost glitch a little bit here. We need to get agility so we can raise some of our stats and raise our speed, but even with that, it's not raising it enough where we can do one-hit damage on any of his Pokemon with any of our moves, and we lose to the very first Dragonair. Let's try this again, and we've used a couple of rare candies here just to get to level 65. This should give us the edge. We're at the next damage rounding threshold. Next one after this would be 68. If you don't know how that works, you work at, like, for example, 11, 13, 15, 18. I think that's how it goes. The 13 might not be one of them. Either way, that damage rounding threshold means you do like the next level of damage in the calculation that it sees. I've talked through that, and we've beaten Lance, meaning we have got one more fight left. Komori stands before us, and it's just us and our ball. We take out the Pidgeot nearly in one shot, and I misclick on Screech. We still take it down without losing any HP, so it's a good start really. We are going to Mimic Recover because we need that move desperately, but he has set up a Reflect, which isn't the greatest thing. But with recovering our moveset, we should be able to keep ourselves healthy, reduce his... Yeah, unless a critical hit happens. I always forget Alakazam gets a lot of critical hits until it happens. Oh well. Let's do the same strategy. Pidgeot goes down with Thunderbolt. Alakazam, we Mimic Recover. He goes for a big Sidekick, and we're going to just push on with the Screeches, and we are now confused. We recover up our HP, and we are just going to be in a war of attrition when it comes to recover right now. We get all the way back up to full HP, and this is the right time to use our last Screech on him. He does a lot of damage there, and then goes to recover himself, so we're back up to full HP, but we are only on 4 recovers left. After all of those Screeches, Swift only does 2/3 of his damage. We use Screech on the Rhydon, and as soon as all 6 are set up, well, all 3 are set up, reducing his defense by 6, we can Swift our way through, and we're not hoping for those critical hits. You can see there the difference in damage that it does. We're going to recover just before we go into the next Pokemon, and that brings us to the Gyarados. Now Gyarados will go down to a Thunderbolt, it's 4 times weak to it. Arcanine will take 2 Thunderbolts before going down, and that brings us into the final Venusaur. Now, we have 3 recovers to work with here. Ideally, we need to set up those Screeches as soon as possible, and not get hit by a Solar Beam, apparently. Okay, 3rd time lucky. Pidgeot goes down to Thunderbolt, standard. We Mimic Recover, standard. Psybeam hits us, standard. And you know what, this time we're just going to hope for those critical hit chances. We're going to go for the Swifts, we're going to go for Thunderbolt, and we're going to go into the Rhydon before we recover, because we used a lot of recovers before we actually took it down last time. So, we're going to use the Screeches on Rhydon, because it's literally the only way we can get through it, unless we decided we were going to go for Mimic Psychic strategy, which actually wouldn't be a bad thing to do, considering Venusaur is a Grass Poison type. It would be super effective. But this is what we're working with now, because I don't know what other move we could use to get our HP back. We probably could teach ourselves Rest, but that means getting rid of Thunderbolt, and we need that for the Gyarados. Because if it didn't, then he'd probably use like the Hyper Beam, he would probably use Hydro Pump and do a hell of a lot of damage to us. This brings us back to the Venusaur, and we've got to make sure we keep ourselves healthy. He is increasing his special with using Growth, but we need to get that defense down. So Swift, wow, takes it out in 1. Okay. I was not expecting Swift to take him out in 1 now. There we go. Balls has become the Pokemon League champion, and I've completed the game with just a Voltorb. I'm quite happy with that. Let's see what our end time was. Level 67 was our end level. 6 hours and 1 minute. You know what? I'm kind of expecting a bad time like that. It was not an easy run, and with not having Sonic Boom right at the start, we lost a lot of time in that early game. Either way, very happy if you got to this point in the video. Let's see what we got in the next one. Let's spin that wheel and see who comes up first. First spin, here we go. First up is Ivysaur. Now that is a great choice. I've not done anything from the Bulbasaur line since the second video on this entire channel. Next up is Cubone, which is annoying because I really don't want to do a Cubone run. But I'm more leaning towards Ivysaur right now. Last up is Tentacruel. Nah, I think it's time to continue the Bulbasaur line. Let's go with Ivysaur and see how we do. If you got to this point in the video, guys, please smash that like and subscribe button, you legends. And I will see you in the very next video with an Ivysaur run. Take care, guys. Appreciate yous.